Awesome. Folks, we want to welcome y'all to another edition of the SFL podcast. Y'all know who I am. I'm Mighty RX, the host, better known as Max Paul, owner and head coach of the Alaska Storm. Tonight, we have a special guest. We're joined by one of the newest acquisitions for the Vancouver Legion, Mahmoud Ajaluni. Mahmoud, if you want to, say a word or two for the kind folk that listen to us.
Hello, guys. We got something in store for you guys. It's going to be great.
That's what's up, Mahmoud. Congrats on the big move way west. I can't tell you that I'm hoping that you have success there because you'll be facing us quite a bit. But keep doing you. We're also expecting. Forget expecting. He's here. The reigning champ, the man with the belt, and whom we all aspire to be. Ramos has joined us tonight. Ramos, speak to your people. Let them know how you feel.
Okay, I feel pretty good. I'm excited for the new season coming up on January. Looking at the roster, some very, very interesting strategies that we'll see this upcoming season here in the SFL. So very excited.
Awesome. Your championship game counterpart is trying to get on. When he officially gets on, then I guess we'll introduce him properly. Tonight, folks, we're going to give y'all a brief as we possibly be. With still good enough breakdowns of each team's current builds and the players that they've signed during this off season. We're going to begin with the bottom right of the grid that has been made available to us by Cam as the signings have gone on. Let me go ahead and display that grid to y'all so everybody can enjoy and see what I see. We're going to start at the bam. I'm going to start at the bottom right with Mr. Mahmoud's brand new spanking squad, the Vancouver Legion. The Legion went out there, and it looks like they're bringing back the same type of team that they had last season. They went out, brought back Tom Pepper at a 79.26 level. That's a little bit lower, a little higher than the lowest possible value for a quarterback. So it's looking like they're going to have the same kind of squad again. They went out then used most of their cap to kind of shore up their defense a little bit. It's a well-balanced team. It kind of looks the same as last year, where they have a quarterback, a running back, and a lot of weapons for Tom Pepper to spread the field with and kind of attack a defense with, where the defense can't really zone in on one specific player because there's a litany of weapons that he has at his disposal. And defensively, they brought back Marcus Reed and Frank Champion, to hold down that fort. Again, Mahmoud was signed as to be that middle fielder, that eraser, so to speak, when the corners, might bite on a thing or two. He's there to make sure that no bad things happen to that Legion defense. They signed Tristan Carr at tight end. They got one more opening left. I saw in the player openings that they were looking to fill that second cornerback spot. So we have a pretty good idea of how they're going to deploy these guys this season. They don't really have anybody close to the highest possible level. Everybody's right there, around the middle. You got your few, like the linebackers are towards the lower end. Mahmoud, what do you think of your team? And they kind of look the same as they did last season. What's the potential there?
Well, first, I trust Andy, so I think whatever build he goes with will probably work. And with Ivan having the highest value, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a run-first team. It just means maybe like if the pass game is struggling a bit, that way they'll have a weapon in the backfield to help them out, either by running it or maybe screens and all that. Because there's so many great defenses in the league, so you'll have to change it up frequently.
I could dig that too. Last season, a lot of us, at least I know I did. Whenever I had to game plan against Vancouver, I looking at their team and the way it was set up, it looked like they'd be a running back centered attack, and our concerted efforts were to stop, Yvonne from doing any kind of damage, being on the ground or through the air, and forcing Tom Pepper to beat us. Now he beat us twice last season, and he showed to be better or even as good as advertised. Ramos, you ran into these boys last season, and it's looking like they're going to have the same type of offensive defensive mentality. What do you think of the build? And give us your opinion on that.
Well, I do like it a lot. I think that they can do pretty much everything well. Obviously, they brought back Tom Pepper, a very good quarterback. They brought Ben Sanchez. We know how Sanchez can run. Very good receiving core with 4 receivers, 3 wide receivers and a tight end. So, you'll be looking at a lot of those matchups. They want you to come in nickel packages and run the ball on you and pass the ball. And I think that on defense, they still balanced. I mean, they still have a defensive back design, I think, a cornerback.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but I think that with 2 linebackers and with a full secondary of 2 corners and 2 safeties, they can, have a very, very balanced defense, and they can stop the run and they can stop the pass. On special teams, I mean, they don't have a kicker or punter, but we know that Andy likes to put in a wide receiver returning kicks, and it's going to be very dangerous. Probably it's going to be Jeremy Vega. So, I'm intrigued also in special teams what the Legion is going to do. But we know Andy, we know the Legion first season was amazing. And, they will be a threat again.
Yes, I concur with you. They're going to be a thorn in both of our sides this upcoming season. So, I like the fact that Andy didn't upset the apple cart. He kind of found something, a winning recipe, for lack of a better term, and he's sticking to it. Moving on to the Desperados. The Desperados wasted no time to sign and fill their roster completely. Looking at their roster, it seemed like at least offensively is where they spent most of their value. Their better players will be on offense. Defensively, it's looking like a bend but don't break philosophy there. They signed a big ugly. Again, I'll reiterate, as I always do. I love me the big guys. The big guys cause chaos and havoc, and I like chaos and havoc. They're twins. They're twins that I could ride with. They signed one of the higher valued running backs in the offseason as well, in Dion Hawkins. I guess the coach feels like, if we're going to do well, it's going to be on my back. But they also signed a quarterback. I like this quarterback's name, right, by the way. Sir Charles Robinson. I like that name. Who is Mr. Duked on Discord. They went out and got Corey Jones, sons of Robinson from the Baltimore Crabs, who I believe led the league in catches the last 2 seasons. Decided to, since I know how to catch the ball so well, why don't I play receiver? He used to be a running back. They went and got Louis Latore to round out that offense, and then defensively, they went and got that big ugly, as I spoke about, Griffin Brown, Espen Royale. He's making his way down there to Tulsa. They got two corners that are around, just above the lowest value possible. They went and spent some money on that strong safety though, and then because he's just below the highest value that you could give a strong safety, they went and got a free safety. He's about the lowest possible value, and then I guess he learned coming from Chicago, who had lost a couple games last season on some bad field goals, and he went out and spent some money on a kicker. I like that, because special teams, a lot of people don't understand. It's the third facet of the game. But a lot of coaches and people, take it for granted, and until it comes and bites them in the butt. So Ramos, what do you think of the Desperados and what they've assembled down there in Tulsa?
Well, straight up, I will say from now, before we even get to the other teams, this is my favorite build of them all. Like, of all the other teams, none non-Mexico City Aztecs, all the other 17 teams, this is the one I like the most because I think that they can do everything well. You know, they have a quarterback with, you know, this is the best quarterback name since Skeletor Bebop. Okay, Sir Charles Robinson. Then they have Deion Hawkins, which is a veteran running back, obviously the owner of the team. Corey Jones, another veteran receiver, former Hyena, former Legion player. Sonso Robinson, kind of surprised now he's a wide receiver, obviously with the Baltimore Crabs before. And I think that they can run the ball well with Hawkins. I think that they can pass the ball well with now a tight end. They have the defensive lineman to rush the passer. They have a linebacker to stop the run. They have a full secondary. And you know I love the kicker as well, Joseph Carroll. So I think that everything here with the Desperados is kind of very solid, very balanced. I don't think so far anything's missing. You know, with player progression, obviously, I think that they will get obviously better. So, hey, look for the Desperados to win some ball games this season and kind of surprise a little bit.
Well said, Ramos. Mahmoud, you see the Desperados and you think what?
Well, I think offense right away because the highest value comes from the offense. As like the QB and running back, both of them are the highest. So that could be a deadly 1-2 punch and hurt a lot of teams. So I feel like they'll average a lot of points. They'll be like a Cleveland, putting up what they average around 37 points last season. I see them doing the same, probably even more, because the receivers also 81 and 80. That's also pretty high, one of the highest in the league. So I think offense is gonna hurt a lot of teams.
Yes, sir. Now moving on to Pretty Boy Frank's team. Pretty Boy Frank's in the chat. I see you, my boy. We're talking about the Tallahassee Pride. Now let me tell you why I'm kind of excited, because y'all know. You know, I just said I like Big Ugly. You know what Frank went and did? He got 4 of them bad boys. You know what that means to teams that got to face them? Y'all better not wind up trailing in that fourth quarter, because them boys are coming. Anyways, I'm too excited. I'm sorry. I gotta calm down a little bit. The Tallahassee Pride, they went out and we'll get to them in a minute. You know, last week we addressed they went and got, they re-signed Christensen. Yes, that's how many Christians are in his name. It's crazy. Kenny G came back. Man, that D-line. And what's crazy about that D-line, they're not even signed at low value. Like, they're right there in the middle. They're not the lowest value possible. These guys aren't just guys you put on the field to occupy space. These guys are coming to wreak havoc. They have skills. I'm glad I'm not on that East Coast. I don't want no part of that D-line. I'm just saying. So they went and got Raekwon Lamore. I love that name, Ray. Like, you know what I'm saying? Raekwon the chef. Anyways, Mike Johnson, Hunter Norwood, and Taquan Hale round out that D-line. All the names sound fierce. They got one cornerback. Last season they had none. They went 9-3. So apparently Frank knows defense. So one corner to hold down the strong side of the field. Alex Bond, is jumping into that strong safety spot. Anthony, I don't want to screw up this name. It's Wayo. Rounds out that defense at a 65.85 value, which is right there in the middle as well. So that defense, nobody on that defense is bottom rated. Everybody's there is at mid-tier or a little higher. Woo! Okay. And offensively, they got a quarterback, a running back. Pretty Boy Frank, again, offensively just being innovative when they got himself a fullback at the middle level as well. So expect that fullback to do big things. I can't wait to see that boy be flexed out wide against unsuspecting DBs that think that's, he can't catch, he's too slow. Okay, that boy gonna run you over, you're in trouble. So Mahmoud, I'm sorry, I got excited. It's Pretty Boy Frank's team. I love the creativity there. I love bills that are different. Anyways, Mahmoud, what do you think of the Pride right here?
Well, their run defense is gonna be unstoppable. 4 D line, they're just gonna pressure them all day long. Like it's gonna be like Russell Wilson running around in circles for the opposing quarterback, and then their offense pretty much, even though they lost Jay Calvin Kim, they brought in Jay Enola at a 84 overall value, which is pretty good still. So he could be just as effective, and he still has receivers in Ken Gossett. So this team looks scary on both sides.
Yes, it does. I guess he's after going 9-3 back-to-back seasons, he felt like let's switch some things up because I believe he's been one and done in the playoffs the last 2 seasons as well. So it's one of those, you know what, let's throw some against the wall, and if it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, at least we tried something different. We scrolling to the left, scrolling to the left, scrolling to the left. All righty. The next team we're gonna look at is the St. Louis Gladiators. Now the Gladiators had a little turnover in the offseason. You know, they lost their defensive coordinator, the head coach, and the coordinator both got teams in the offseason, in the Indianapolis Red Devils and the London Knights. So they kind of had to revisit and the co-owners had to kind of like, all right, how we gonna do this? So defensively, they said we're gonna do 2 big uglies. Already, I like this team. Yeah, they got 2 of them. Aiden Friday is back manning the middle. They got Double A coming in to coordinate. I believe he's gonna be the OC over there in St. Louis. Aaron Arrington is Double A. Colin Douglas locking down the other the main side. You got Nick Daggs of the Daggs hierarchy. Yes, hierarchy, because I think it's about 19 Dags in the league. Like dag, like that's how many there are. And the other co-owner, Freeman Peltier, is manning the deep middle. Offensively, they got a quarterback. They got one of the higher valued running back this offseason as well. They went and got a looks like a big play receiver, and Cody Scott as the one last season they had none. They went and got another receiver, Tristan James, who is just below the lowest value possible, and that they're missing one player. Tight end, could be a fullback, could be a third receiver, could be a kicker, could be a punter. Don't know where they're going yet, but I like this one as well with the multiple defensive linemen, so that way you can game plan to stop one or to prevent one from kind of wrecking your offensive game plan. Mahmoud, would you see in the Gladiators?
They might be one of the sleeper teams this season, honestly. Like, I believe last year they went no star receivers, right? And this year correct. They have 2 now, so their offense might be a little bit more effective, and especially with that high of a running back value. So I expect an average season, probably even they could be a sleeper team, like I said. So they should be watched out.
Next squad we're looking at is the Sioux Falls Sparrows. Sioux Falls pretty much filled out their roster. The only thing they're missing is a quarterback, and I believe we know who the quarterback's going to be over there. So no issues there. They're looking like they're bringing back the same type of build that they had last season, which is a very good running back. This going to be Robert Redford's first season in Sioux Falls, but he's going to try to pick up where Kevin Clancy left off last season. They signed a pair of receivers who are similarly valued in Sean Harrelson and Michael Moore. They're right there. They're right above the middle tier. They have another receiver to round out that offense in AJ Warren, who is right underneath. Actually, he's at 76. He's right over the bottom or the lowest possible value given to receiver. They have three linebackers coming to kind of head crack, to kind of continue that Sioux Falls tradition of, carrying that many second level defenders. Adam Okoye is back, to lock down the outside this season at a lower value than last, because I believe last season he was a gold. This season he's coming back. He's coming back as a little bit higher than the lowest possible value. Nick Pop is holding down the other side. You got Christopher Dodd returning to man the deep middle, and AJ Levy is back at strong safety. You know, it'll be seen if he'll still be returning kicks in Sioux Falls as well. Mahmoud, you see the squad, and you're like, this is a squad that I believe went 6-6 last season. Do you think that they've made the necessary adjustments to improve, you know, in this coming season?
I say yes. I say they're a playoff team this year because their defense, their secondary is pretty much the same, and they have one of the best strong safeties in the history of the league, AJ Levy. And their offense, I think Sean Harrelson is probably a big move for them. Coming from Carolina, their linebacker core seems even more jacked up. So I think they're sneaking in the playoffs this year.
That'd be nice. Because they were known as a perennial playoff contender. So last season, with the way the season unfolded for them last season, it was not disheartening but disappointing in the least because we've come to know Sioux Falls to be a force. One of the newbies, looking at the San Francisco Sharks, whose team it has a very flavorful build. What I mean by flavorful is that they have a quarterback who's right under the highest value possible. They signed a fullback at the a little higher than the middle possible value. They signed a receiver at a little under the highest possible value. So it looks like that quarterback receiver combo is going to be there to kind of open up things underneath for the rest of the offensive squad. They went and got a tight end who's a little higher than the middle possible value as well. So at least offensively, they still have a couple spots to fill, but offensively, you can kind of get the gist of what they're looking to do. You know, the quarterback to receiver combination is going to be a big play threat waiting to happen. 20 defense, I guess, knows it to try to take away the middle to short routes. And defensively, they got two outside linebackers and Sean Marshall and Chester Fields, who are both a little higher than the middle possible value. They got two corners to look to be lockdown corners, as they are both higher than the middle possible value. They went and got two safeties who are one rating point lower than the highest possible value. So they spent a lot of their cap in their secondary, in their quarterback and their receiver. So you get to see a little bit the mind behind the madness, where it's going to be a lot of trying to lock down opposing teams, threats on the outside, and funneling everything inside to their linebackers to kind of rally and corral and stop ball carriers in their tracks. So Mahmoud, you see this team, and you're like, what do you think?
Well, first, I already know that QB wide receiver attack is going to be crazy because the QB is at 91 and the receiver's at 87. Very high. So I know they're going to mess with cornerbacks all day long. So their offense could be a top-ranking offense, and their defense is pretty strong too. The lowest is at a 71. So I don't see why not. They could be a force on the field. They could possibly sneak into the playoffs their first season.
Yeah, we're waiting to see how they round out the rest of the team. As I said, they have two more spots. They could easily go anywhere. You know, punter. They could add a lineman. They could fill out the rest of the linebacker squad and bring in a middle linebacker. You never know. They might go for a third cornerback to, prep for all the spread sets that they will face. Because very few times do you play against teams that just sit back and base offense. A lot of times you face teams that come on 3, 4, sometimes 5 wide receiver sets. So maybe they might lean that direction to get an extra DB. Mm-hmm. Time will tell. We got a couple more weeks worth of in the signing period, so we'll see. Let me go ahead and scroll to the right. And next up is the San Antonio Vaqueros. See, I'm finally getting it right. They brought back they brought back the GM Joey Langdon. They brought back Daley Holder as their big play outside receiving threat. Daley Hornish is their second receiver. Aaron Miller is there to be that monster in the middle, for lack of a better term. Obi Okoye, he's going to be the middle linebacker there. By the way, Joey Landon is being brought back as one full, point underneath the highest possible value. So he's taken quite a big step up from last season where he was playing as a bronze. So that should reap dividends for the San Antonio Vaqueros, at least offensively, where last season Langdon was really turnover prone. He had a game where I believe he had 9 interceptions or 11, something ridiculous. It was a crazy game. That's a game that they refused to run the ball. So and we continue. They bring back Justin Morris to lock down the outside at corner. Scott Perez and Jared Olson make up their safety tandem. Perez is around the middle tier, while Jared Olson comes down at one value point underneath the highest value possible. And the Vaqueros are trying something different this season. They've signed a kicker, which isn't unheard of because, as we know, kicking matters. But they've also signed a punter, and that's where they look different. Mahmoud, what do you think of what you see?
Well, kicker is a very important position, and we all know that watching last season. Chicago lost against Tallahassee on a missed chip shot. Atlanta, last year we lost to Queen City on a missed field goal. So it happened. So I think they made a wise decision by signing a kicker. And hopefully Joey Langdon has a better season. And I think he will, especially with the high value. So I see a good season for them.
Can't wait to see what they do with those last 2 spots. I don't know if they'll be going running back like they did last season with a higher, a high level, high value running back to round out their offense and to kind of help that offense matriculate the ball down the field. Let's move on to Queen City, to the Corsairs, full roster, where their quarterback and running back, I believe their running back's the highest valued running back signed this offseason. Their quarterback is right up there as well. He's one of the higher valued quarterbacks that got signed this offseason. So it's looking like, at least offensively, they're going to trust their offense to be the reason they win. So they'll be the catalyst during the ball games, and they're just asking the defense to play bend but don't break. You don't have to stop anybody completely. Just make sure that you made their life miserable enough that you either force them into, punting situations or hold them to field goal. So I could dig that philosophy, for a team build. But Ash Odom, if y'all remember him well, last season he was in Alaska. I believe he was 3rd or 4th in the league in rushing. So he's going to be a problem there. AJ Caswell coming down at a couple points under that highest value possible, to kind of manage that ball club whenever they're in, long down and long distances to kind of matriculate, convert, and sometimes, take full advantage of what the defense gives him. Avery King, Alex Cross, we spoke about them last week. Queen City again this season. They're going with no cornerbacks. They do have two free safeties where one will be manning the slot, and they do have a strong safety that they're bringing in as well. Mahmoud, you look at this different type of at least defensive build, and you're like, could that work or couldn't work?
I agree with you. I think their defense will improve a bit because maybe bringing in that extra free safety will help out. But it might, especially with a lot of, how we saw earlier, teams, they have such high value offenses. So if they come head to head with Queen City might be affected by not having that cornerback covering the number 1 receiver or number 2 receiver. So I agree with you. It's a bend or break defense.
Ramos, thanks for joining us back. You see Queen City. We know Eric Barkley. He knows how to win. I mean, he's Lord of the Rings. What do you think of Queen City and what they put together in this offseason?
I think this has been the Queen City team that we've seen this past few seasons. I'm still surprised. Well, I'm surprised right now that they went no corners and they went to free safeties instead, because you could argue that was the reason why they lost against the Chicago Wildcats in the playoffs last season. The fact that they could not stop the passing game on the outside by Z-Line and by the other king, Aaron King. But I just cannot disqualify the 4-time champion Queen City Corsairs. So they will still be a dangerous team, but the defense, it kind of intrigues me the fact that they have no corners. On offense, AJ Caswell and Ash Odom, I think that they will just be nightmares on the Eastern Conference. But that defense a little bit kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but as it was pointed in the chat, this will be their 3rd season running with no cornerback. So I think Eric's getting the hang of what works and what doesn't work when your outside guys aren't as talented as maybe not as he'd like, but talented as the receivers they are facing. We're moving on to the Oklahoma City Renegades. They signed this week Mr. Nickens to be the signal caller. Mr. Nickens is coming in. Yes, Mr. Nickens, former owner of the Dallas Stars, Cleveland Stallions, Cleveland Vipers, LA, was it Gamblers? Was it the Gamblers, Ramos?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
The Las Vegas Gamblers.
Yep.
He's coming in to fling that pigskin? Fling that pigskin around. He's coming in right a little over the lowest value possible at running back. Mr. Brewski will be missed. For those that don't know, Mr. Brewski has been the running back in Oklahoma City since before Father Time was born. He will no longer be toting the pill for OKC. OKC went out and got the Donk Bunkers. I almost messed up and called him Donk the Clown Ramos from back in the days. You know what I'm talking about. Donk Bunkers will be their running back this upcoming season, who is a couple of rating value points above the lowest possible level. They have 2 mid-tier receivers in Desir Powell and Stephen Bush. Tiberius Bovine is coming back. He's coming back as slightly higher than the lowest possible value. He'll be joined in that tight end rotation by Jalen Hurt, who is also signed at a 1 rating point above the lowest possible value. They went and got a defensive end in Mandrake Perp. Day Drury. Wow, these names are the best. Day Drury will be manning the middle at the linebacker position. They went and got 2 cornerbacks, who are just above the lowest possible level. They signed a strong safety who is just under the middle tier of safeties, and they have 1 more spot left open. So it's looking like a well-balanced build, where a lot of the guys aren't at the lowest possible value. There's a smidge higher. So every guy can contribute well enough, and at any given time, one of them could take over a game. Ramos, you look at OKC, Sam Brewski, and you think what?
Well, 2 things. Number 1, the Brewski jokes will be missed. Absolutely, they will be missed. And the number 2 is that if the Renegades do not win the championship, they will win the championship on having the best names on their team. I mean, look at that. Donk Bunkers. That's the best I've seen since Killer to be Funk. Deezer, better than Spotify. Powell. Tiberius, Bovine, Mandrake, Perp. Day Drury. I just think that this is a very solid, balanced, classic Renegade team. I think that they will be pretty good this season. Again, they bring back 2 tight ends, which last season sometimes you thought, hey, that's amazing, and then they were kind of consistent. But I think that season after season, Mr. Michael Irvine is just learning more and more about the game, and just getting the best out of the tight ends. The last spot is kind of intriguing to me. They still have some gap to play with, so most likely they will go with a free safety. But who knows? Probably they can put in a kicker on the field, because Oklahoma City was one of those teams that in the past season they kind of struggled on the kicking game. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. Angeloni, what do you think of this OKC build?
Well, 2 tight ends for me. I could see run first offense, because that kind of brings in, if he decides to put both of them on the field at the same time, that kind of puts out like an extra lineman or extra blocker, whatever you want to call it. So I agree with Ramos as well. They're a balanced team, so it's not going to be easy playing them. That's for sure.
I fully agree there. All jokes aside, Brewski will be missed. As a perennial, I could say all pro in this league. It's going to be weird seeing someone other than Brewski running the rock for the Oklahoma City Renegades. Slide to the left. Slide to the left.
Yeah, Brewski definitely.
Look at that.
Definitely first ballot Hall of Fame. He will be missed.
We're looking at the defending champions, Mexico Aztecs, who have a full roster before me. For the most part, it looks like they're bringing back, most of the same guys from last season. They filled the middle linebacker position with Landing Mack. They're going without a tight end this season. They're also bringing Fran Ogawa on as the corner opposite King Wallace. So it's looking like the same type of team. They just, I guess, they traded off the tight end for the linebacker. Mahmoud, you look at this team, the Aztecs, trying to defend the crown, and what do you think the possibilities will be that they could do that?
Oh well, I give them a very high chance of doing it again, because they have the same team. So there's a few new additions, but I don't see why not they can make another run for it, because there's still the same chemistry. He has a dominant running back, probably the best we have seen in a while. So I don't see why not. He has a big chance to win it again.
Well, seeing that we're speaking about him, let's see what he has to say. Ramos, what do you think of the team you put together in the offseason?
Well, I think that we took the best of what was successful last season for us, and I think that we will come back with a stronger team this time, because our tight end kind of fell off the radar. At the beginning, he was very good and got a lot of touchdowns, but then we kind of went away from him, and it was a silver spot. So that was I'm gonna say it was a dead spot, because he was very good in blocking and he still got his catches. But I think that now with our linebacker Landon Mack, he will be just a force in the front seven, stopping the run and just covering those short intermediate routes over the middle. So, this is probably the strongest team we have built so far here in the SFL. I'm very excited about it. The wall with the new acquisition, Fran Ogawa, shout out to him, Franken, in Discord, Fran Gonzalez here on YouTube. A friend of mine, shout out to him. He's going to enforce the wall, as we call them, our no-fly zone. So, I'm very excited and intrigued and just very, looking forward to seeing our guys play next season.
Very good. The next 2 teams they're going to be looking at are both the rest of the expansion winners. First up is the London Knights. They went and got a quarterback who is right between the middle tier and the highest value possible. They got a running back who's a couple of points under the highest possible value. And when they got a receiver at the middle tier, another receiver at the lowest possible value, and that'll be their offense. Their offense is going to be 4 players. They'll be defensive reliant, where they have 2 of the big uglies, and Aya Rushanek and Josh Mack at defensive end. They got Slim Shady. Don't confuse it with Slim Shady. Slim, 2 ends. Slim Shady manning the middle. Garrett Rowland is making his way over the pond to play for the London Knights at outside linebacker. They have 1 corner in Donnie Mack. He'll be manning the strong side, where the number 1 receivers line up. They bring Kane Vasquez at strong safety. Jeffrey Daggs. I told you it's a lot of Dags. There's a lot of Dags in the league. He'll be manning the deep middle for them, as well as another Dag. Zach Daggs will be kicking for them. Ramos, you look at Sir Liam's squadron, and what do you? This build is different. What do you feel about it?
It's certainly different. I'm very excited, looking forward to what Sir Liam is going to do with this build. I like it. I do like it a lot. I would have, this is me, obviously. I would have changed the defensive end by maybe another corner. I love having a full secondary with me. But I just love the fact that they have a higher tier running back in Spencer Mayer. I think that it's going to be the focal point not only of the offense but the whole team. I think that they will win or lose ball games, leaning towards Spencer. I love the kicker addition. You know that I love the kicker addition. And, I think that there will be very good stuff in the run as well with 2 linebackers and 2 defensive linemen. So I like what Liam's doing here. So let's see. I'm very intrigued, though, on how he's going to run his offense and defense now in London.
Mahmoud, what do you think of this? What you see right here?
They're gonna be relying more on their defense. So if it all depends on how their defense performs, which will lead them to winning games. I mean, their offense will play a focus, of course, especially with having high values. But in my opinion, I think Sir Liam's relying more on his defense to win games.
Yeah, that's what he's looking like. Well, he is a more defensive-minded coach. So I guess he's putting his money where his mouth is to kind of dominate. And then offensively, I guess that's why he spent so much of his cap on the offense, because he's expecting big plays out of them. And then the defense is like, all right, defense, y'all go and keep the lead, or if necessary, win the game for us. Moving on to the final of the expansion winners. We're going to look at Mr. James Richards' team, the Indianapolis Red Devils. Give them the D, like as they say in Indianapolis. They got Nathan Lee, who has been signed at the 1 point underneath the highest possible value. They got Matthew Mitchell, who's going to be running that rock, who's 1 point under the middle tier. Dan Daly and Eli McCormick. And Eli McCormick are both receivers that are a little higher than the middle possible tier. They have Kerry Tate, who will be holding down the fort in the middle of the field, who's a little higher than the lowest possible value. And then it's all about that D, because you got to give him the D. Grant Butler will be manning the outside at the linebacker. They brought in a pair of cornerbacks who were right between the lowest possible value and the middle tier, Paul Connolly and Paul Blake. The Pauls make up the pair of safeties who are both one value point under the middle possible tier. They brought in a third safety who looks like he'll be the nickel back in this defense, in Ernest Claiborne. And they have a punter as well in Ronnie Wild, who I thought retired, who is at the lowest possible value for a punter. Ramos, I'm going your way. because you have a little more history in the league. What do you think of this team that has a punter on it?
You know, I was reading the comment section. Obviously, James saying of the punter that you know, the hang time. You know, I agree with him. You know, obviously, having a punter, even if it's at the lowest value, you could pin an opposing team deep instead of, you know, the ball rolling in the end zone for a touchback, or having your, you know, the gunners running into the end zone for touchbacks. But you know, still, I'm kind of surprised, and I'm not gonna say worried, but I'm kind of like, I mean, a punter but not a kicker is kind of like okay, you know. For example, because they, like the Vaqueros, they did go with a punter, but they also went with a kicker. So the fact that I'm seeing punter but no kicker has been like, okay. The rest of the team, though, I really like it. I think we will see some nickel defense from the Red Devils. Obviously, having two free safeties on offense, they have a very good high tier quarterback in Nathan Lee. So, you know, so far I think it's a strong build, and you know, I'm, you know, kind of iffy on the punter and no kicker, but hey, let's see.
Mahmoud, you see this team, and what do you think?
I think it's gonna be a well balanced team. So their quarterback highest overall here, so he's gonna be carrying the team to wins, and the defense also has he has a couple actually with high value. So I think they're gonna be a roundabout team. Uh, could be a force on both sides if they develop a strong chemistry.
Fair enough. To the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. Now up, up. Look at that. The Hyenas, the Houston Hyenas, led by Mr. Big Play, Dr. Sim, who I just noticed this last week. I just, didn't mention it. Whose value also matches his jersey. Just putting that out there. They're bringing in a brand new quarterback, Ahmed Chima, who is a little under the middle tier. Warren Murray is taking over for Choice, and Murray's going to be 1 point underneath the middle possible value. They have a nice, how can I say this? They have a nice set of weapons for Chima to choose from. Dr. Sim, as we already mentioned. Badir Ajaluni, is there as well at 78.95 value, who's right in the middle. And you got Garen Malone, who's running out that triplet at receiver, who got signed at the lowest possible value. I believe in the player openings, the Hyenas were looking for defensive linemen to add to their defense. So it's safe to assume here that that's what one of those two spots will be. They bring in DJ Majesty to man the outside of linebacker. They have two cornerbacks that they signed. One in Ryan Michaels, who's coming in at a little bit over the middle tier, and Tyreek Jones is going to be a little bit over the lowest tier possible. You got Two Scoops Eddie Gage, who's also going to be defensive coordinating in Houston, coming in at strong safety, who is right in between the middle tier and the lowest possible value, and Blake Chance, who is coming in at between the middle tier and the lowest possible value as well. Ramos, you've seen Houston year in and year out. What do you think about what you see in front of you now?
I really like it. I really, really do. Bringing back Dr. Sim, the veteran, as you said, with the 80.00 value. Bringing back Eddie Gage, the veteran strong safety from the Baltimore Crabs. Knowing DR, he will go with a defensive tackle and an inside linebacker to finish his team. So, he always has very good success with running back. So we are possibly looking at Rookie of the Year in Warren Murray, because just how good DR is good with running backs. We saw it with last season. We've seen it. We've seen it through the previous season.
It seems like we lost Ramos. That's okay. Mahmoud, the Hyenas. Your thoughts?
Looks like they're loading out on their offense too. Three wide receivers set. So even though they have a new quarterback, I think the offense is still going to be effective. And we all know the Hyenas' defense is one of the best in the league. And with the addition of Eddie Gauge, I think it's going to even be much better. So I see Houston having a good season.
Nice. We're moving on to the Roughnecks, who in the offseason went and got, Mac Wavy, John Woo to be both he's the head coach there, or he's just the OC. I don't specifically remember, but I know the offense will be his to run. They bring back Mike Davis, who was the rookie of the year 2 seasons ago. Prince Esco also followed Mac back to Dallas. Prince Esco, I guess he got his former big play partner from Baltimore to jump ship with him, and Michael Sy. Luke Vidovich rounds out the offense. The offense is going to be a problem. We know Mac can coach some defensively is where he struggled a little bit last season in Cleveland. We all know Stephen Mullen likes to coach him some D. T. Cabell is back. T. Cabell was a terror 2 seasons ago. We got the McDaniel boys, both Papa and son, are basically holding the fort down in the middle at linebacker. They got a pair of safeties in Brian Shark and problematic Troy Loshaw. Mahmoud, this Roughneck squad, for the first time in a long time last season, did not make the playoffs. Does this build at least initially look like one that could restore the glory?
Definitely. Mac Wavy Jr. is bringing Prince Escobar alongside. And last year, even though they didn't have a good season, them two alone carried the team. And now they're both together in Dallas, which is historically a good team. So they're going to be scary, and they're going to be back into the playoff team we all know they are.
Ramos, thanks for joining us. The Roughnecks, they've been a problem. Last season, they kind of stubbed their toe and missed the playoffs for, I think, the first time in 2 or 3 seasons. Does this build initially look like one that could get them back there? Okay, I guess we lost Ramos again. He's having some technical difficulties, folks. It happens to the best of us. Moving on. I'm gonna slide to the left a little bit because we can't really see this high orange squad from Mr. Varner and the Chicago Wildcat boys. E.T. King, J.C.K., Gilbert, Davis Reed, Alex Zeli, Shad Varner. Basically the same type of offense that they had last season. Defensively, they're going with 2 outside linebackers. At least that's what it says on the roster sheet. It's going to be interesting how they deploy both of those guys. Kanye Rockefeller and Blake Hamrack hold down for that cornerback, and I believe that both are right in between the lowest possible value in the middle tier. AJ Barnes and Lil Mo, Maurice Spurgeon are doing the thing at safety, and they are a little bit under the middle tier as well. Mahmoud, and by the way, they spent all of their cap, every last red cent. They maxed it out at $870. Mahmoud, can the Wildcats make it back to the championship game?
Definitely. I don't see why not. Even though they lost Deion Hawkins, they brought in Jake Calvin Kim, who had a pretty good season last year. Their defense pretty much the same, and they have Afalabi, who's one of the better linebackers in the league. So I don't see why not. They have a huge chance.
Yeah, if especially if the offense, even though they'll miss the offensive coordinator a little bit, and Deion Hawkins, who has who was awarded a franchise in the offseason. So, without their OC, we know Shan's very good coaching offense, but we don't know how much that's gonna hurt. I'm sliding to the left right now so we can see the rest of the signing sheet. The next squad is the Carolina Skyhawks. Um, Mark Biddix, the HC, the head man in charge, is coming in at his 85, which is right around the middle tier. They went and got AJ Francis to replace Johnny English, who looked to be on his last leg last season. Um, AJ Francis coming in right between the middle tier and the highest possible value. They signed 3 receivers, all at 77 rating, which is almost at the lowest possible value that you could sign the receivers. They went and got another big ugly. Last season was Phil Hall. This season is Christopher D. Colin. Um, and he got signed at 68.24, which is a little lower than the highest possible value. So they're looking for him to be a problem in the middle. Phil Hall slid to linebacker, where he got signed at the lowest possible value. Jay Bolt fills out the other outside linebacker spot, and he's at 1 rating point underneath the middle tier. Greg Greedy and Pierre Louis. Oh, good grief. I'm going to hurt myself saying this. Luyan Dulla. I hope I didn't screw up your name too bad, Pierre. Are going to be holding down the fort at the corners. They're both close to the lowest possible value. Giovanni Bolt, he sounds fast. Let's see if he can hold it down. He's assigned at strong safety at the lowest possible value. And Sir Chappell is going to be manning the deep middle, and he looks to be the Ed Reed, Earl Thomas type, because they signed him at a couple of value points underneath the most that you could give a free safety. Mahmoud, can the Skyhawks make it back to the playoffs this season?
I honestly don't know. They had every team has a chance, but it all depends on the way their offense performs. Like last year, it was pretty. It was a tough season for them. I'm pretty sure they didn't meet their expectations. They have playoff talent, so of course they have a chance, but it's gonna be tough for them again, and I don't know.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. They'll be there. The problem last season was consistency. One game, their defense would be a terror, and their offense just couldn't provide enough points to win. Another game, the offense would come out, and just blazing, and their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, and it was frustrating to watch them because it seemed like they could never be on the same page for in the same game at the same time. So hopefully they found some consistency in this off season, working together, working out the kinks, and we'll see how that gets displayed this season. We're down to 2, folks. It's almost done. The next to last squad that we're breaking down is far from the worst. Talking about the Atlanta, ADG Hollywood, Boo Chisholm. The one and got. Oh, that's not good. Sorry about that, folks. I got disconnected. Mahmoud, you there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hangouts just kicked me in as the hot mess. So it's terrible. Am I still projecting this? Let me see. Yes. Okay, we're still good there. Okay, I'm sorry about that, folks. Again, my Hangouts started acting crazy. Cool. So offensively, they're going to be same-ish. Defensively, they've lost you, Mahmoud. You moved on to Vancouver. They replaced you with E.K. Vincent. They're looking like they're missing someone. The last 2 seasons, they had a big man in the middle and Ludacris. I haven't spoken to Mr. Chisholm to see which route he's going with that last spot, but at least with what we see in front of us now, do they look like the same type of competitive squad that you had last season?
Definitely. Mark is an excellent coach, and I had the honor to experience that. Their offense pretty much the same. They have BDG Hollywood, one of the best running backs in the league currently. Boo Chisholm, also one of the best wide receivers. So the defense, hopefully Ludacris is back in there. He was a big player, so I still see them make the playoffs again.
Okay, that's what's up. So like I said, I'm taking that leap and saying that I believe that one player that they're missing is a big body in the middle, a space eater, and someone that can wreak havoc when their opposing teams are trying to run. Last but not least, the Alaska Storm. This week they kind of slowed down. They went and signed, I believe, a receiver, a tight end, and a free safety to add to their team. They went and got Jeff Como, who has at the lowest possible value. They went and got Yassine Clifton and signed him at the lowest possible value. They went and signed Ryan Tobin as well, who I believe is right in the middle between the lowest possible and the middle tier. They're still trying to fill some more spots. Don't know as to yet where they're going. Yes, I don't know where I'm going yet. I'm talking about myself. I don't know where I'm going yet. I'm still debating. So Mahmoud, with the squad that, at least for what you see in front of you, what do you think?
Well, Alaska, no doubt, is is probably the best defense in the league. And I'm more of a defensive person, so I like that focus by you. And defense wins championships, so the offense looks promising as well. You have a tight end in there. Hopefully, so I don't see why Alaska won't make the playoffs again.
Yeah, offensively, we're going to try something different. We're hoping it works. Yeah, Ron's coming back. AJ, have no worries. I talk to him daily, and he has a plan. I'm just hoping I could make the plan happen for him. And then we're just trying to fill the last 3 spots up. It gets kind of the difficult when you get guys that commit verbally and then they kind of renege at the last second, or they can't be found when it's time to, put the name on the contract, so to speak. So that's what's happening there. That's all the squads. We'll have, some few signings here and there to kind of fill out the spots. I believe there's only 16 spots left. So owners and coaches, good work, man. Good work. Y'all hustle on. All these rookies, I welcome y'all to the league. I can't wait to see what kind of damage y'all do on the field. Damage on the field, not off the field. Off the field damage is not good. That's problematic. What kind of damage y'all do on the field. Just giving y'all a heads up. The next couple of weeks, there probably won't be a show. We got Thanksgiving around the corner. So a lot of time going to be spent with family and whatnot. We will come back the week after Thanksgiving to kind of give y'all a wrap up of all the squads and with any league announcement that fall between now and then to kind of catch y'all up on that. So no worries there. Thank y'all for spending the last 65 minutes listening to our voices and just looking at numbers on the screen. We can't wait for y'all to be staring at numbers moving on the screen where people will be hitting, where we'll see avatars hitting other avatars and cheering on, our teams. So, from Mahmoud Ajaluni, I can't believe I'm saying her name right. I'm surprised at myself. I'm Max Paul, owner of the Storm, and like I said, we'll catch y'all in a couple weeks. In the meantime, be easy and have a happy Thanksgiving.